Coming up, a cyclist struck by a Newton County deputy vehicle succumbs to his injuries.
As the sun eventually rises, so will the temperatures. The latest on the forecast from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And summer heat grips the 4 states, but for the homeless in Joplin, that heat can be dangerous. We'll take a look at how one shelter opens its doors to help cool off the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. It's going to be another really toasty day.
Oh, great.
I wish I had better news, but it's like we've been saying. Unfortunately, it is summertime, and it's going to remain that way for the foreseeable future. Take a look at Skywatch Storm Tracker. Nothing out there now, but in about 36 hours or so, it might actually have something to do. 7th and Rangeline, skies are looking pretty good. It's hard to tell, but I can assure you they are pretty good at this hour. We are sitting at 66 in Joplin under the calm wind, and the rest of us sitting in the mid to upper 60s as we start our Thursday morning. Going through the day, heading for a high, check this out, pushing 100. We're looking at 98, upper 90s for most of us under very sunny skies. We also are going to have a little bit of a heat index to deal with as well, unfortunately. Winds stay out of the southeast as they continue to shift around 5 to 10. We cool off, if you can say that, tonight. We're going to dip back into the mid-70s as we start our day tomorrow. A quick look at the future track. I wanted to show you this real quick because as we head into Friday, we have our increasing storm chances. So we're going to skip a bit here. You just got to press the button the right amount of times. Okay, so here comes the cloud cover. And look off to the northwest. You see some showers out there. By the time we get into Friday afternoon and evening, we may see a scattered storm or two. Not that it'll do much for the temperatures, as you can see, but we may see a scattered storm or two. And, of course, we'll have more on the complete forecast, including look at the 7-day and the weekend. I know that's an important time here in just a little bit.
Too bad that the temperatures won't drop with the rain because, last time rain showers in the morning brought really cool temperatures during the day.
It made it a nice day, but unfortunately, we'll see. We got a lot more rain. What day was that? Tuesday? Tuesday.
Yeah.
We got a lot more. It's been a long week. So we got a lot more rain on Tuesday than what we're going to get, unfortunately. So it's not really going to do much for the temperatures. But, hey, any rain we can get is certainly helpful at this point.
That's true. That's true. And we need it, that's for sure.
We really do. We really do. We'll even take a look at some drought information later, too.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Chris. Well, Joplin police say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's deputy's patrol vehicle has died. The accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. Firefighters battle a blaze at a Joplin manufacturing plant Wednesday afternoon. They found flames at the Owens Corning complex on State Line Road. And we have no reports of injuries. The fire was reported around 1:45 Wednesday afternoon. Some firefighters cut a hole in the roof, apparently to get access to the fire. Others worked inside the building. The plant makes insulation. A former Ottawa County, Oklahoma prosecutor pleads guilty to offering favorable treatment in court proceedings in exchange for sexual favors. Authorities say 44-year-old Daniel Giraldi of Joplin also provided drugs to the defendant he made the agreement with. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of oxycodone with intent to distribute and 4 counts of honest services fraud. As part of the plea agreement, Giraldi will forfeit his Oklahoma bar license. He will be sentenced at a later date. A Joplin woman accused of killing a Joplin couple in a crash receives her sentence for an earlier crime. Rita Glasgow was originally charged with drug possession in 2017. In February of 2020, she was charged with drug trafficking. And then authorities say in January of last year, Glasgow was intoxicated when she drove a stolen pickup into an SUV. Terry and Rhonda couple of Joplin both died from injuries in that crash. In February of this year, Glasgow began serving a 7-year prison sentence for the 2017 case after she failed to complete a court-ordered program. Now a judge has sentenced her to serve 4 years to be served concurrently for the 2020 case. She's already pled guilty in the fatal crash, and she's set to be sentenced in that case July 25th. Well, not everyone has a cool home to help them escape the heat. The homeless community is finding different ways to stay cool during the heat advisories. Joplin-based homeless shelter Souls Harbor knows how harmful the weather can be.
And it's like, okay, I need to get in. And for us, it's like, okay, maybe we can plant a seed of Jesus and help you through, you know.
Souls Harbor actively helps the homeless community handle extreme temperatures by offering water bottles and helping manage cooling stations around Joplin. Coming up later in our show, our own Amber Jenkins has more on the story. Gun control advocates and families impacted by recent tragedies rallied on Capitol Hill Wednesday, calling for stricter gun control laws as well as a ban on assault weapons. Deborah Alfarone has more details.
The agony and anger of losing loved ones in recent mass shootings nationwide took center stage on Capitol Hill.
Our communities are paying the high price. We're paying the price of our sanity. We're paying the price of our peace.
Just last week, a mass shooter killed 7 people at a July 4th parade in the Chicago suburb of Highland Park.
Highland Park has experienced something that no community should ever experience.
Mary Jo Tinkoff, her husband, and 2 young boys ran for their lives that day as the 21-year-old suspect opened fire using a high-powered military-style assault weapon.
I look over at my husband, I glance at him, and he just screams, "Run."
Newly released surveillance video shows police in action as the gunman in Uvalde, Texas, massacred young students and teachers using an AR-15 style rifle. With President Biden overseas, several of the families impacted by the gun violence in Uvalde and in Highland Park came to the White House to talk to deputy-level staffers about what can be done to prevent future tragedies.
We want a federal ban on assault weapons now.
U.S. lawmakers passed a new gun control bill last month requiring enhanced background checks, among other things, for anyone under 21 buying firearms. But President Biden is pushing for Congress to go further, calling for the return of the assault weapons ban of 1994 that he helped pass when he was a senator.
In that 10 years it was law, mass shootings went down.
The Democratic-led House is expected to pass a new bill, which would create a communications network to inform communities when active shooters are in their area.
There have been 333 mass shootings so far this year, and that's according to the Gun Violence Archive.
Taking a quick look at the forecast as we head into the afternoon, we are going to be sunny, we're going to be clear, we are going to be hot with highs pushing into the upper 90s. With heat index values unfortunately exceeding that level, I'm sorry to say. But we also have the issue with drought in the area. So as you can see right now, we have a good chunk of our area that's dry, but if you look out to the east, you can see that moderate drought situation starting to build in. That is just because the overall lack of rainfall that we've had this summer, and of course the heat that we've been experiencing, which does not help out in the slightest. And these are the heat index values I wanted to share with you. So tomorrow we're going to be pushing heat index values into the lower 100s and upper 90s for a lot of us. And as we head into Saturday, kind of a repeat of the same situation. And a quick look at that 7-day forecast for you shows the heat is on and it's going to stick around throughout the rest of the week. But we also have some increasing storm chances, and we'll talk about those as well.
And I noticed that you also took Saturday's high of 100, even though that's what it should feel like, down to 99.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be almost jacket weather if it drops another degree or two.
I guess I asked the right person.
Yeah, see, there you go. I'm doing what I can to try and help. I thought about maybe just setting up a large fan outside and seeing if that might help out.
Maybe.
You never know. Doesn't hurt to try.
Put some ice on the other side of the fan.
Yeah.
Help it cool.
See if I can't cool down the 4 states a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you can do it all by yourself.
I will certainly try.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Webb City has 3 teams going to state softball tournaments this week. We take a look at the 12 and under team and see just how high they've set their goals.
Plus, when we think of blood donations, we usually think of people, but your pet just might need blood too.
And the CDC says opioid overdoses are back on the rise. This follows a slight dip in fatalities. We dig deeper into the numbers. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, the Joplin Outlaws swept a doubleheader from the Chillicothe Mudcats last night. With those 2 wins, the Outlaws are now 16-18 overall and just 1 game back off of first place in the Mink League South Division. Joplin trying to stay rolling and stay within a game of first, wrapping up their series with the Mudcats on Wednesday night. Outlaws win that one 5-1. Fort Scott product and future Pitt State Gorilla Matt Campbell goes 2 for 3 for the Outlaws with a double, a home run, and a pair of RBIs. Kansas City Royals have actually been pretty good the last week. They've won 3 of their last 4 and 5 of their last 8 games. On Wednesday, they finish up their series with Detroit, aiming to take 3 of 4 from the Tigers. Emmanuel Rivera with the liner scores Andrew Benintendi to tie the game at 1. Then Edward Olivares on the ground, little trouble out there. Hunter Dozier and Rivera both score. It's 3-1 Kansas City. More miscues for the Tigers in the 5th. Dozier with the fly ball. Riley Green can't make the play. Smacks into the wall. Bobby Witt Jr. scores on that. Look at it again. It is a hard collision out there. Oh, yeah, that's no good. Royals win 5-2 for their 2nd straight series win. In the National League, St. Louis Cardinals hit the field for Game 2 of their 3-game series with the Dodgers. The Cards took Game 1 Tuesday night, 7-6. Last night's game, the Dodgers overcome a 6-run deficit to also win 7-6. Webb City Little League Softball has 3 teams that will play in the state tournaments this week. The 10 and under group will head to DeSoto, and the 14 and under team goes to Marshall, Missouri. As for the 12 and under group here, they're headed to Columbia for the state tournament that was going to take place. The Webb City 12s won a district championship last week, outscoring their opponents 47-7 in 2 games. Here's the team ongoing to state and hopefully continuing to roll on to regionals and maybe more.
It would mean a lot because that's always been my goal and my dream and stuff to make it to the World Series.
Our goal is to go to state and be competitive. I think we have a good shot at that, and if we get to go on, that'd be even better. This team started about a month ago, so there's not a lot of time. So to have an extra week or 2, it means a lot. These girls have really come together and built relationships, so I'm glad it gets to continue.
Former Oklahoma Sooners standout Baker Mayfield held his first press conference on Tuesday since joining the Carolina Panthers. Mayfield was traded from Cleveland to Carolina last week. Mayfield was the #1 overall pick out of Oklahoma back in 2018. He spent the first 4 years of his pro career in Cleveland, throwing for 14,000 yards and 92 touchdowns, and also leading the Browns to their first playoff win in 26 years. Here he is on his time with Cleveland and starting a new journey in Carolina.
It's just an exciting time for myself and my family and just this new chapter. No animosity towards Cleveland. It's a good football town that, gave me the first 4 years of my career, and thankful for those trials and tribulations, all the challenges, a lot to learn from and look back on and reflect, but just really focused on right now and being a Carolina Panther and, pumped up to do so.
Chanute Drayton Cleaver is competing at the NHSGA National Invitational this week in Pinehurst, North Carolina. It's a tournament featuring the top high school golfers across the country who have won their respective state championships as a team or individual. Here's how he did. Wednesday was the final round of the 54-hole tournament. Cleaver went out and shot a 1/73 yesterday. That moved him up to 20 spots in the standings. He finishes tied for 34th in a field of more than 330 competitors. You can check out our full story with Cleaver on the sports page at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, still to come, German airline Lufthansa cancels 2,000 flights in an effort to better deal with the summer travel schedule. Plus, let's take a look at that 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just get to singing in a commercial break and you kind of forget what you're doing, but we're going to get right to the forecast now, and I promise I'm not going to sing. At least not here. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing us absolutely nothing to worry about this morning. You can see a little bit of a bluish tinge because the sun is going to be rising here in about half an hour or so. 7th and Rangeline. 66 degrees is where we sit. 66 degrees is what it feels like. Most of us sitting in the mid to upper 60s. Now look at this, pushing 70 in Chanute. We also have some lower 60s out there too, like Pittsburgh, 63 degrees. Not a bad start to the day. Unfortunately, it's not going to stay that way because as you see, the sun will get high in the sky. It's going to stick with us all day. And yeah, we're going to push highs around 98 degrees with heat index values pushing about 100. So they're not excessive yet, but they're out there and it's going to be pretty toasty. As we head through the night, it's going to stay pretty toasty, pretty mild, dripping off only into the upper 70s. For overnight lows tonight under, again, clear skies, but the clear skies aren't going to stick around forever. So we're going to take a real quick look at that 7-day forecast for you, and I'll tell you what I mean here. So again, today, 99-ish, upper 90s tomorrow. We have slightly increasing storm chances, though, as we head into the weekend. That cools us off for a bit, and then once those storm chances move out, guess what moves back in? The heat. We get up to another 100-degree set of days, as we head into the upcoming work week. And look at that overnight low Tuesday night into Wednesday, 80 degrees. So I hope you've been giving your AC a break because it's not going to get one over the next several days. Donating blood is critical to saving lives, which is why organizations like the Red Cross often push people to donate. But blood donations for pets are often overlooked. Austin Westfall spoke with veterinary hospital staffers hoping to boost the pet blood supply.
This pet hospital says that they only get about 1/3 of the blood donations that they'd like. They say when they don't have enough blood, it leads to tough situations.
And that's what's scary, especially when you hear, oh, there's a chance that we might not have blood for your dog to be able to survive.
Sherry Shepherd's beagle puppy, Harley, was 6 weeks old when her family got her, but it wasn't long before something was off.
She went to go get some water and she fell over.
The vet said Harley had a parasitic infection and needed an emergency blood transfusion. The vet didn't have the correct blood.
We didn't think she was going to make it at all.
But thankfully, another vet nearby had the blood. 5 weeks and 3 transfusions later, Harley is looking a lot better.
She was 1.3 pounds the first time, and now she's over 4.5 pounds.
Harley is lucky, but not all dogs are.
The fact of the matter is there are definitely cases that could have been saved if we had the resource.
Heather Moore works at Blue Pearl, the hospital that saved Harley.
On the table, big boy.
She says they're so short on blood that she sometimes brings her own dog in for a donation if a puppy is dying. She encourages anyone with a healthy dog or cat to consider regularly donating.
Knowing that your pet needs help and may not have the blood product they need, that really is just heartbreaking and fixable if the community comes together.
Now, Blue Pearl says nationally, since the pandemic, they've seen about a 26% drop in the amount of blood donations they've received. Depending on how big a dog is, just one donation can save up to 3 lives. That brings us to our morning talker today. Our question to you, how often do you take your pet to the vet? Never? Monthly? Yearly? Or maybe something in between? You can vote at KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, also in the KOAM News Now app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page, Facebook.com/KOAM Fox 14. We are back with Healthwatch right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, overdose deaths involving fentanyl and other synthetic opioids are reaching another record high. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says close to 109,000 people died of drug overdoses for the year-long period that ended in February. According to the CDC, there was a slight dip in these fatalities in June, but they've risen again in the latest monthly data. However, nearly 73,000 deaths, more than 2/3, were linked to synthetic opioids, including fentanyl, which set a new record. Psychostimulants like methamphetamine accounted for nearly 1/3 of the deaths, which was also a record high for that drug. The CDC also reported that deaths involving fentanyl and other synthetic opioids have jumped 85% in the past 2 years. A new study showed methadone-linked drug overdose deaths remained stable during the pandemic, despite a policy change that expanded access to it. The study was published on Wednesday. Methadone is used to treat people addicted to opioids. Most patients have to go to a certified center every day to get it. But when the pandemic hit, the government allowed states to request exceptions for patients to get a 14 or 28-day methadone supply to take home. Between March of 2020 and August of 2021, overall drug overdose deaths rose, but the proportion of those deaths involving methadone dropped. A senior study author indicated the data suggests broader access to treatment does not necessarily come with increased harms. A new study finds more than 10 million adults have tried to get help for addiction to gambling. Naomi Ruckham explains how gambling is becoming a global public health concern.
New research shows gambling addiction is a very prevalent problem around the world, with 1 in every 400 adults seeking help. Data in the scientific journal Addiction looked at dozens of studies over the past decade. Findings show that when it comes to moderate risk gamblers, 1 in 25 reach out for help. But for those who have a gambling problem, 1 in 5 seek help. The National Council on Problem Gambling estimates 2 million adults in the United States have a gambling addiction, and another 4 to 6 million are considered to have mild or moderate gambling problems. Approximately 85% of adults have gambled at least once in their lives, 60% in the past year. With sports betting now legal in about 35 states, the National Problem Gambling Helpline Network says last year it experienced a 45% jump in calls from the year prior. Experts say a person should seek help if they feel the need to be secretive about their gambling, have trouble controlling their gambling and can't walk away, they gamble even when they don't have the money, or if family or friends are worried. Experts recommend a wide array of treatment options for gambling addiction, including professional and non-professional treatment, along with self-help. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Some form of gambling is legal in 48 states and the District of Columbia. Only Hawaii and Utah have completely outlawed gambling of any kind. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We are going to see a very warm day today, but we're starting off pretty nice in the 60s. We'll have more on your complete forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, a cyclist struck by a Newton County deputy vehicle succumbs to his injuries.
It's still dark enough that the camera's in black and white mode, but the sun is on its way up. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Film noir this morning. Also, summer heat grips the 4 states, but for the homeless in Joplin, that heat can be dangerous. We'll take a look at how one shelter opens its doors to help cool off the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So yeah, see, our camera's got a night vision mode to it, and apparently the sun's not up enough yet for it to not be in night vision mode. So that's why it went black and white on us. But I can tell you, this sunrise, whatever it's doing, is very colorful. It's set to rise actually at 6:09 a.m. 7th at Rangeline. We turned it back toward the light, so it's a lot happier now. We are sitting at 66 degrees in Joplin. Most of us sitting in the 60s. We're pushing 70, though, at 5:32 in the morning. As we head through the day, temperatures will continue to climb into the upper 90s with heat index values pushing about 100, maybe 101 in some areas. Overnight, not cooling off a lot. We're going to be 82 by 11, 78 by 2 a.m., 75 as we start tomorrow off. Quick look at the future track. I wanted to show you that we do have some showers and maybe even an isolated thunderstorm or two that'll make its way in here by tomorrow afternoon and evening for some of us. But on the 7-day forecast, storm chances increase as we head into the weekend. But unfortunately, so do the temperatures because, as we've mentioned before, summer's not done yet. It's still sticking around. That's why we've got a couple of 100-degree days to get through next week. So hopefully you can give your AC a break now because Tuesday night and Wednesday morning only dipping down to 80 degrees. So
it was a little, my car said it was 72 this morning, but it felt chilly to me.
It did. It felt a lot chillier yesterday morning, and it did feel still kind of chilly. My car said it was about 66 when I left Joplin this morning. So, but those temperatures are going to rise quickly, especially once the sun gets high enough in the sky. It's going to heat up.
Yeah, but
just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little. Tiny bit.
All right.
Barely noticeable.
All right. Well, Joplin, please say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's deputy's patrol vehicle has died. The accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. Authorities delay the planned closure of the railroad overpass on Rangeline Road in Joplin due to construction scheduling issues. It had been scheduled to close this coming Monday to allow contractor crews to demolish the bridge and begin work on a new one. Authorities have not yet announced a new closure date. Well, this extreme heat is hard on everyone, especially the homeless community who is outside for much of the day. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
The summer in the 4 states area has been difficult. The homeless community has to find ways to stay cool during these heat advisories.
So the most common question around this time, not just this summer, but any summer is, hey, are you guys a cooling station? Because we do have that provided throughout different spots in Joplin.
Souls Harbor understands how damaging extreme heat can be. The homeless community doesn't always have access to places to avoid the heat.
Having a heat stroke and you happen to be coming by Souls Harbor, we are going to call 911 for you. We're going to bring you inside. We're going to get you cooled off as much as we possibly can.
Souls Harbor partnered with local organizations to run cooling stations throughout Joplin. However, on extreme hot days, the homeless community needs more.
You don't really ever get cooled down, but I don't know, probably about 15-20 minutes and so.
Even though the homeless community has resources like Souls Harbor, Tim wants the entire community to be aware of the struggle to stay cool.
But then sometimes not so much and stuff like that, and they probably just don't realize, or a lot that's going on, but they never really ask here,
In Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Souls Harbor is accepting donations to help the homeless deal with the heat. Well, the Vernon County Youth Fair kicked off this week. Wednesday's events included a rodeo, mutton busting, and barrel racing. This is the 77th year of the Youth Fair. Children under age 6 get into the fair free of charge. Proceeds from the event support the Youth Fair. It runs through Saturday. Folks in the 4-state area also gathered to show off their livestock, just not in the form of a rodeo. On Wednesday, the annual Jasper County Fair kicked off and displayed a variety of animals, including cows, maybe cattle, and goats. The event also features a cornhole tournament, live music, and vendors. The last event of the fair will be market sale on Friday, where folks can bid on the competitors' animals to help them raise money.
I mean, you always have your people that you know, but you always go and make new friends because someone's calf always gets loose and you got to help them get them back. Yeah.
The last event of the fair will be market sale on Friday, where people can bid on the competitors' animals to help them raise money.
You've got to watch out for those stray cattle when they get loose. That's never a good thing. And unfortunately, another not so good thing we're dealing with is the drought situation. As you can see, most of us now are in that dry spot, but we do have the moderate drought status starting to creep in on us. We do have some rain chances coming up, but not really enough to knock a hole in that. And unfortunately, what also doesn't help is despite the rain chances, temperatures are going to remain high, pushing 100 degrees Saturday and maybe even at 100 degrees as we head into the next work week. So we need some rain, but we're just not getting as much as we need.
Yeah, maybe those cattle were breaking free just because they wanted to get cool.
I think so. They're probably looking for a good source of water, and that's starting to get harder and harder to find around there.
Very true. We need that rain.
We do.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, this morning we are discussing blood donations for pets. Donating blood can be critical for saving lives, but we typically think of blood donations as human consideration.
But this group of veterinarians wants to expand people's consideration of what it means to donate blood by including pets, which they're often overlooked. Pets can suffer similar ailments and injuries as humans and require the same need for blood. The process for donating blood can be similar.
If a person has a healthy animal, vets encourage regular donations. In the case of a dog, for example, one donation can save up to 3 lives, depending on the size of the animal. But our question, in more general terms, how often do you take your pet to the vet?
So far, Your options, by the way, are never, monthly, yearly, or other. 10% of you say never. 10% of you say monthly. 60% say that you take them at least once a year. And 18% have a slightly different schedule. You can vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. You can do so in the Facebook app the KOAM News Now app, and you can participate in the discussion on Facebook, on our Facebook page.
Yep, and I have it posted on my Facebook page as well. All right, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. And what do you get when you put a bunch of introverted dogs together in a park? Well, not much. We've got the hilarious stand-up story on the way.
Plus, summer travel season is in full flight. But that surge means many international airports are dealing with a massive backlog. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Worldwatch, Lufthansa cancels 2,000 summer flights from Frankfurt and Munich. The German airline says the cancellations are due to, quote, an immensely strong increase in traffic volume from just under 20 to over 90% within a few months, end quote. Lufthansa had already cut 770 flights from the 8th to the 14th of July to help relieve some of the pressure on its systems. Airline said it regrets the cancellations as well as the inconvenience it will have on passengers, but said it was an important action to ensure greater overall stability and thus reliability of the flight schedule in the summer. In particular, this is intended to avoid an overload of ground processes at peak times. Well, this summer's dramatic jump in air travel has caused backlogs at airports all over the world, and now one of the hardest hit, London Heathrow, is limiting how many passengers can leave every day, and that's likely to cause problems for thousands of tourists. Remy Insoncia shows us how big cutbacks during the pandemic have left airlines and airports struggling to handle the load.
Slow, snaking lines at Heathrow immigration and rows of abandoned luggage. Brits are rushing back to the skies after 2 years of COVID stasis. Simon Calder is a British aviation expert.
And of course, the airlines want to make as much money as they possibly can. But unfortunately, while they're taking the bookings, they're not making sure that they've got the resources to get people where they need to be.
Those resources are employees. Many laid off during COVID, many jobs still unfilled.
Getting an aircraft into the air requires 20 different skilled individuals. Unfortunately, of those 20, half a dozen of them are off doing something else.
Not just in the UK, but across Europe, pilots and airport staff striking for better pay, leading to British Airways cutting nearly 30,000 flights come this August, Scandinavian Air Systems filing for bankruptcy protection in the US, and more European airlines facing walkouts. But if you can handle the hassle at departure, you might have a happy surprise on arrival for your next European getaway.
Asia, but particularly China, simply isn't travelling abroad. The number of visitors from the US isn't going to be anything like the usual numbers.
And who doesn't want just a little more of Europe all to themselves? But the cancellations and the mad crush of people are set to continue through October, November, and even longer, with more strikes expected even next week. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Joplin police say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's Deputy patrol vehicle has died. The accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. Firefighters were called to a Joplin manufacturing plant Wednesday afternoon. They found flames at the Owens Corning complex on State Line Road. No reports of injuries at this point. The fire was reported around 1:45 Wednesday afternoon, and some firefighters cut a hole in the roof, apparently to get access to the fire. Others worked inside the building. The plant makes insulation. Planned closure of the railroad overpass on Rangeline Road in Joplin has been delayed due to construction scheduling issues. It had been scheduled to close this coming Monday to allow contractor crews to demolish the bridge and begin work on a new one. Authorities have not yet announced a new closure date. And Mercy and Grail LLC, a healthcare company whose mission is to detect cancer early when it can be cured, announced plans to offer a multi-cancer early detection blood test. Grail's Gawler test uses advanced testing capabilities to detect early cancer signals of more than 50 types of cancer. Mercy says this is the first of its kind test. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Well, the sun's come up just enough so that the camera no longer feels it needs to be in night mode. Take a look at those colors, looking really good. Sunrise is set for about 20 minutes from right now. 66 is where we sit in Joplin under clear skies. Most of us sitting in the 60s to pushing, say, 70 degrees in Chanute as we start this day. Temperatures are going to continue to climb throughout the day. In fact, mostly sunny skies means that it's going to be mostly hot outside. 98 by 5 o'clock. All of us heading into about the upper 90s for afternoon highs. Getting to tonight, clear skies continue, but not cooling off a lot. We're looking at mid to upper 70s for overnight lows. Quick look at the future track. We want to go into the future. So again, later today, those upper 90s, clear skies, as you can see, all across the board. And then we head into tomorrow. We're going to start the day pretty mild, but we have increasing cloud cover. And then look off to our northwest. We have some scattered showers, and we may even see a thunderstorm or two. These are going to be very isolated, very random, but the storm chances do increase heading into the weekend. Quick look at the drought tracker. As you can see, our folks out west dealing with a much worse situation than we are, but here locally, a good chunk of us in the dry area, but we do have that moderate starting to creep in, so we do need some rain, and any we get, we will certainly take. And the rain chances again increase as we head into the weekend. Unfortunately, so do the temperatures. A break, if you will, on Sunday before we start pushing 100 again by the start of the next work week. And take a look. The overnight lows have been pretty decent, but check out Tuesday night into Wednesday, 80 degrees. So try and give your air conditioner a break over the next couple of nights if you can, because it is going to be working overtime as we head into the weekend. We've got more of the KOAM morning news right after this.
Well, normally at a dog park, you see pooches of all shapes and sizes frolicking and playing around.
Well, that's normally, but when the dogs are introverts, it makes for a hilariously standoffish get-together.
Jeannie Moose has more.
What happens when you put a bunch of introverted dogs together? Take a look. It's worse than the office Christmas party before the liquor flows. Standing apart, all of them avoiding eye contact. One of the owners described it as like a pasture of cows at a dog park in Sweden. This Swedish couple shot the video that went viral.
We found a group that was for introverted dogs, and we thought it was perfect for Kila because she...
Kila, a rescued street dog, is selective about other canines and has had only one best friend, this wiener dog. Instead of using the word introverted,
gather more calm dogs.
Sophia and Timmy prefer calm. The meetup lasted an hour. The video shows only the waning moments when everyone seemed to have had enough of each other. Dogs thinking this could have been an email. The couple found the group of calm dogs
on Facebook, like for different kind of dogs. And
the dog does not seem introverted with you two. No. At the meetup, amid pooches planted like statues, two of the introverts passed like ships in the night. And though Kila may be the life of the party with her owners, she preferred catching bugs in her mouth to catching the eye of any other introverts. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Okay, so see, I'm a little introverted, so that would be me and people I know just standing in a field avoiding eye contact for a while.
I have two American Bulldogs who are definitely not introverted. They immediately, if somebody comes up, they have to go sniff them and then proceed to play with them. You know, like they're waiting at the gate for the new dogs to come.
Okay,
like
see, and that's why I'm introverted, because I don't go out and start sniffing new people.
No, it's probably not a good idea.
Probably not, but I mean, it's the 21st century. I've got kids. You do too. I'm learning all sorts of new things.
There's things that are PC and things that are not, and going up and sniffing others probably isn't. But
probably
in the
not,
dog world,
I mean,
in the dog world, that's all of those dogs in that video probably would have freaked out a little bit when Benny and Queenie came up and just started
checking them out.
investigating.
Started
like,
doing some
do you want to
investigation.
play?
Yeah, I mean,
well, it would have been funny to have like all 20 of those dogs like that just standing there, and then put in one dog, that one like little hyper dog
that's ready to go. Oh man, probably would have scared them all off. The hyper dog would have been
like
the only
figure
one
eights
left.
around him. Like, why won't you play with me?
Oh, and introverts. It's interesting. There's introverted animals too. You know, it's,
I wouldn't have taken you as an introverted
I
individual.
like to just, you know, I keep to myself in my cozy little zone. You know,
no,
just saying. That's what I do. That's what I do. All right, we got another check of the forecast right after this. The sun set to rise at 6:09. You can see it is progressively coming up through the sky. Temperatures this morning starting out in the 60s, 66 in Joplin. Most of us are sitting in the 60s to about 70 degrees as we start this day. However, it's going to warm up, and a quick look at that 7-day forecast shows us how much it's going to warm up. Maybe you don't want to see that. You might not want to see that number, but if you do, upper 90s today and tomorrow and Saturday. Rain chances build in through the weekend, and then we get right back to the hundreds by the start of next week. Give your AC a break. You've got a few more days. Sorry, I swore there was a bug up there. A few more days before we have overnight lows in the 80s, and that AC will not get a break. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, Joplin firefighters battle a blaze at a manufacturing plant.
The sun is rising, and as it does so, temperatures are going to rise right along with it. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And some area athletes hit the bowling alley for a good cause.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. I want you guys to know that the distance from over there to over here is great. I have short legs.
I know, but you did it in a hop, skip, and a jump.
I did, and it was a literal hop, skip, and a jump. Yes. Because I've told everybody before, there's a box I stand on, and so it's literally a jump is the last thing I have to do. So something else that's jumping, temperatures.
Yeah.
They're going to jump. Unfortunately, take a look at that. A beautiful start to the day. The sun is rising. We were talking about this just a few moments ago. 66 in Joplin. Sunrise is set in 8 minutes from now. All of us sitting in the 60s. In fact, we're starting to push 70s. Check out Chanute at 71. And those temperatures, well, they're not going to drop off by any means. They're only going to increase under the rising sun. Sunny skies today. So, I mean, it's going to look lovely out, but it's going to be trifle on the toasty side, pushing into the upper 90s for most of us with a light southeast breeze. Temperatures don't really drop off too much tonight, and it's going to take them a while before they do. Clear skies again, light southeast breeze. Overnight lows around the mid-70s as we start our next day. Quick look at the future track, and I mean a quick look, so I got to hit this button several times. But tomorrow we have increasing shower and thunderstorm chances. Now tomorrow it's still slight, but you can see as the time we head into the afternoon and early evening Friday, some of us may see an isolated storm or two, which might help with this. The drought situation, as you can see, points out west are dealing with a lot worse than we are, but we are dry. We're starting to get into that moderate range too, so any rain we can get, we will certainly take. And a look at that 7-day does show increasing rain chances into the weekend, but it also shows, unfortunately, increasing temperatures, pushing 100 by Saturday, a little bit of a break on Sunday with more rain chances, and then they clear out, and they make plenty of room for the sun and 100-degree temperatures, because it's not the 4 states in July if it's not 100 degrees outside.
I like how you say 100-degree temperatures with a smile on your face.
Hey, you know, it
makes you seem evil.
I hate wintertime, and maybe I am a touch evil. I hate the wintertime. Now, granted, I'm not saying that I love 100-degree temperatures. Like we were talking yesterday, 80s. San Diego, I want to point this out real quick. San Diego, when I was a kid, I'm from Joplin. I've lived in Joplin my whole life, but I considered working in news in San Diego. I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool. I checked out their weather. I swear to you, they have temperatures. They're like in the 70s and 80s year-round, overnight lows in the 40s and 50s. They trade this gorgeous weather for a monsoon season. And I'm like, I could trade a monsoon season, like a month of rain, for absolutely gorgeous conditions year-round. Mm-hmm. I could do it.
And you would learn to surf. If you could learn to swim.
Yeah, I'd have to get to the swimming portion first, and I don't do that very well, so surfing's probably not a good idea.
Before you moved to San Diego, where there's a beautiful ocean, let's get that swimming down.
I've tried. The wife has tried. The kids have tried. I don't float. And that doesn't help because like they're like, here, do this, and I try it, and as soon as I lay out to even begin, I just immediately descend in the water, and there's nothing I can do to get back up. So I don't know what it is. My body's just not geared for the water. So
you could wear floaties.
Yeah, that's a great idea. No,
those little blow-up ones you put on your arm.
Yeah, a 35-year-old bald man floating around in the pool with little sharks on his arm because he can't swim.
But according to Justin Alberti from the GRDA, those are not good enough to use as a life jacket in the boat. So make sure you have a real one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Boating safety is serious. Swimming safety is serious. That's why I just avoid the deep end.
There you go.
I just play in the shallow kiddie pool because that's all I can really do.
That's all right.
Hey, I got to get in the pool somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Everyone
I've got
needs
kids,
to cool
and
off.
so I supervise the kids.
There you go.
Take care of them that way.
Everyone has their place. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Joplin police say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's deputy's patrol vehicle has died. The accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. A former Ottawa County, Oklahoma prosecutor pleads guilty to offering favorable treatment in court proceedings in exchange for sexual favors. Authorities say 44-year-old Daniel Giraldi of Joplin also provided drugs to the defendant he made an agreement with. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of oxycodone with intent to distribute and 4 counts of honest services fraud. As part of the plea agreement, Giraldi will forfeit his Oklahoma bar license. He will be sentenced at a later date. Firefighters were called to a Joplin manufacturing plant Wednesday afternoon. They found flames at the Owens Corning complex on State Line Road. We did not have any reports of injuries, though. The fire was reported around 1:45 Wednesday afternoon. Some firefighters cut a hole in the roof, apparently to get access to the fire. Others worked inside the building. The plant makes insulation. A Joplin woman accused of killing a Joplin couple in a crash learns her sentence for an earlier crime. Rita Glasgow was originally charged with drug possession in 2017. In February of 2020, she was charged with drug trafficking. And then authorities say in January of last year, Glasgow was intoxicated when she drove a stolen pickup into an SUV. Terry and Rhonda Koppel of Joplin both died from injuries in that crash. In February of this year, Glasgow began serving a 7-year prison sentence for the 2017 case after she failed to complete a court-ordered program. And now a judge has sentenced her to serve 4 years to be served concurrently with that 2020 case. For the 2020 case, she already pled guilty in the fatal crash, and she's expected to be sentenced in that case July 25th. The planned closure of the railroad overpass on Rangeline Road in Joplin has been delayed due to construction scheduling issues. It had been scheduled to close this coming Monday to allow contractor crews to demolish the bridge and begin work on a new one. Authorities have not yet announced a new closure date. The Vernon County Youth Fair is up and running. Wednesday's events included a rodeo, mutton busting, and barrel racing. This is the 77th year of the Youth Fair. Children under the age of 6 get in free of charge. Proceeds from the event support the Youth Fair. It runs through Saturday. On Wednesday, some area athletes hit the bowling lanes for a competition. The Kansas Special Olympics hosted a regional bowling competition at Pittsburgh's Holiday Lanes. Dozens of athletes came out to throw strikes and meet other athletes. The director of grants and development for Special Olympics Kansas says events like these are important for athletes around the community.
I get out so much joy and so much inclusion within the community. We have the whole community coming out, celebrating these athletes, participating, volunteering, doing all kinds of things to really show our athletes that they're loved and they're part of our community.
Indeed they are. The bowling competition will continue at Holiday Lanes again today. On Wednesday, Mercy and Grail LLC, a healthcare company whose mission is to detect cancer early when it can be cured, announced plans to offer a multi-cancer early detection blood test. Grail's Gawler test uses advanced testing capabilities to detect early cancer signals of more than 50 types of cancer. Mercy says this test is the first of its kind.
It actually looks for DNA markers, so a genomic or gene marker that is produced by different types of cancer cells depending on the type of cancer they are. So every time a cancer cell starts replicating, it starts throwing off these DNA markers.
An official says recommended cancer screenings in the U.S. currently cover only 5 types of cancer: breast, cervical, colon, lung, and prostate, and can screen just 1 at a time. Well, in the wake of the recent Supreme Court ruling on abortions, it appears more men are asking about vasectomies and learning where they are and are not available. 32-year-old Chris Hogan of Nevada, Missouri says he went to a doctor at Joplin's Mercy Hospital seeking to have a vasectomy, but was denied care because it conflicted with the doctor's Catholic beliefs. Hogan wanted the procedure done because his partner could have complications with giving birth.
Has health issues that would make it hard for her to become pregnant, but if she did become pregnant, would most likely, end in miscarriage or complications. And so with all the new laws going into effect, we discussed it, and it was just going to be simpler for me to get the vasectomy and just avoid all that altogether.
Well, men in other areas have run into a similar situation. A clinic in Florida has seen vasectomy appointments double for childless men under the age of 30 since the court ruling. We'll have more on this story in our Healthwatch blog. Well, today, back in 1943, the George Washington Carver National Monument was founded by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The monument, located 10 miles southeast of Joplin, Missouri, became the first national park honoring an African American. The site preserves the boyhood home of George Washington Carver, 1881 Moses Carver House, and the Carver Cemetery. Now, his boyhood home consists of rolling hills, woodlands, and prairies. 240-acre park has a 3/4-mile nature trail, film, museum, and interactive exhibit area for students. The site was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1966.
I don't know about you, but I took a number of field trips down there when I was a kid. And of course, now they've only expanded and made it even better. And so we've taken the kids down there a few times, and they absolutely love it.
I need to take my kids down there. I've been there a couple times. Of course, I grew up in western Kansas, so that would have been a little bit far to travel for a field trip.
Right. Just a little bit too
Yeah.
far, but it is a beautiful place down there too. And one of their park rangers, Curtis Gregory, he's been there forever. My first tour of news, I interviewed him nearly every other weekend during the summer because they'd always have something going on. He's still there, and he's a fantastic guy. So if you get a chance to go down there, make sure you look for him.
Definitely a wealth of knowledge, that's for sure.
He has just unending knowledge about the park. Yeah, so it's going to be hot today. We'll talk more about the forecast a little bit later.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Chef Anthony comes into Studio K with a baked bean recipe, and you don't want to miss it.
You certainly don't. Plus, a Colorado teen helped return some lost items.
And we meet a man in the 4 states who was denied a vasectomy. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
A teenager in Keystone, Colorado is playing the part of Good Samaritan in more ways than one. In the warmer months, he helps keep the great outdoors clean by picking up items that people lost while skiing the previous winter. But he goes a step further. If he finds an important personal item, he shifts into detective mode to get it back to the rightful owner. Marshall Zellinger reports.
You can search for miles, looking for a lost item on a mountain.
All the colorful cards are credit cards.
Or you could let Miles search for you.
During the summer, I go underneath the chairlifts and go looking for lost items.
16-year-old Miles Vale finds what gets unveiled once the snow melts at Keystone.
I find phones, AirPods, ski passes, all sorts of random things.
I remember the feeling that something had left my pockets.
Andrew Knoll in Boca Raton, Florida, lost his iPhone during an annual ski trip to Colorado this past winter.
My cell phone was like our lifeline of making it back to the right spot at the right time.
He and his buddy found their way home, even without the phone he lost at Keystone. The phone recovered months later by Vale, Miles Vale.
I found someone's phone. It had a picture of a dog on it, and the caller actually had the person's phone number on it.
So he asked me what my background was. And honestly, I didn't recall if it was a picture of me and my significant other, or it was a picture of Alan, which was the dog.
So I was able to take the phone number off the caller and contact them via the number on the collar, which I think is pretty cool.
When I realized that that's what he did, I knew like this was a special type of person.
Andrew's phone is one of 11 Miles found.
I have 2 left, but waiting for those people to respond to me.
Like the person whose phone powers up to a lost iPhone screen with a phone number. All Miles asks for in return is the cost of shipping.
It was like pure altruism, like the act of going the extra mile without the expectation of getting anything in return. And I know that's a different type of person.
But if you're gonna reward him, I mean, reward him.
I've had people pay me like $3 for their phone. It's like, I found your really expensive phone and that's all you're gonna give me? And it's like, well, at least they gave me something.
Andrew sent Miles a gift card. Turns out Andrew had phone insurance, paid $200 for a new one, and traded his found phone for $400.
He actually basically gave me $200. His hard work awarded me $200. So I split that in half with him, which is still selfish of me. I should have gave him the whole damn $200.
Like I said, Miles doesn't ask for anything but shipping.
I just do it because it's fun to clean up the community and help return people's lost items.
Pretty cool story. There's also a lost and found database in Keystone. It includes a list of items and where they may have been lost. Crews try to match recovered items with the database. We're going to come back with Chef Anthony in the studio right after this.
Well, you can't have a barbecue without the beans. And this morning we've got Chef Anthony from Pittsburgh High School in studio this morning helping us prepare our barbecue beans.
That's right. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good.
Good. So what I have in this pan, I always use a metal pan for this. It makes life a little bit easier. Cleanup's a lot better. Spray the inside of it with pan spray. And then one number 10 can, which is an institutional can of your favorite bean inside. You can even do this with pork and beans because they're cheaper to buy than to buy baked beans, but you can buy an institutional can for about $4 and it'll serve 15 people.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of beans. Yeah.
So easy way to go. So what I have here is I have the beans in here and we're going to add an onion.
Okay.
And we're going to cut our onion up. And most people, they always sit and they try to make this a little bit harder than what it needs to be. But cutting an onion is actually one of the easiest things in the world. And what I've done is I'm peeling off one whole outer layer of my onion.
Okay.
And of course I say it's easy and then the onion gives me a fit and doesn't want to cooperate. So peeling off one entire outer layer of the onion. And then we're going to make individual slits right down the
Do you have any tips
from the
for
top.
cutting onions to keep you from crying?
Do it just like this and don't stand right over the top of it.
Okay.
Every time you make a slice into an onion, you're breaking the membrane and you're spraying off the spray of the juices of the onion. So if you're standing right over the top of it, you're going to cry. And this makes life easy so you don't have to make so many cuts. So straight down all the way across, even uniform cuts all the way.
Okay.
One cut into the middle. And then decide how thick you want them to be. And straight down. And don't, if you're not standing over the top of it, you're not going to get all the spray. It's going to go right past you.
How pretty.
And uniform all the way down.
Look at that.
So real easy to do, real fun to do. And we're going to add these right into our beans.
Sorry, I moved it so the camera could see.
There we go.
Stir them in.
And stir them right on in.
Okay.
And then you take your favorite barbecue sauce. And since I make my own barbecue sauce, I like to recycle the old barbecue sauce bottles. It makes it easier to clean them. I know how much is in them most of the time. And it just makes life so much easier.
So what kind of barbecue sauce are we working with?
This is actually the bourbon chicken glaze.
Oh, from last week?
From last week.
Oh man, I bet that's going to be good in these.
And add 1 cup to 2 cups inside your beans, depending upon how much you want and how much flavor you want to go in. And then give them a nice good stir. A lot of people will tell you, go ahead and cook the onions before you use it, but before you put them in, but don't. Let them keep their density, let them keep that texture. Some of the onions will stay a little crunchy, some of them will get soft. But if you have one of those people who are like, well, I don't like onions in my food, well, let it cook. Cut them down small so they don't notice them, and then all the flavors will be there because onions impart so much flavor with you. And I always use a yellow onion when I do this.
Okay.
So it makes things real simple, real fun to do. And we're going to add just a little more of the sauce because the sauce helps impart so much more flavor. There we
And
go.
the sauce was really, really good.
Oh, yes.
But it was a glaze, not a sauce.
All I've done to thicken this up is I just cooked it a little bit longer and evaporated some of the water out of it so it got a little bit thicker.
Okay.
And we're going to give it just a really good stir, and you can still smell that bourbony goodness.
Yep.
Oh, yes. And then
So
take your pan.
Do you like to serve your beans cold or hot?
I serve, you can do it either way. I like to do this particular recipe hot.
Okay.
So you cover this with a piece of parchment paper, wrap it in foil, make sure it's at room temperature before you put it in the oven. Because if your beans are cold, your pan's cold, it's going to take even longer, and the outside edges are going to burn. So if it's at room temperature, parchment paper, and then aluminum foil over the top of it, 350-degree oven, about 30 minutes,
There you go.
and you're ready to rock and roll.
All right, looking forward to that.
It's going to be really good.
Tasty. All right, so with our barbecue, we've got something else planned that we're going to be making a little bit later this morning on KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It involves some meat from Simon Market.
That's right. He has done some custom smoked pineapple brats.
Yummy.
So we're going to do a play on sausage with onions and peppers. I'm kind of excited. It's really good.
Of course, our onions and peppers are coming from Martinez Produce.
That's right. Martinez Produce. Their boxes this week were absolutely gorgeous, and I couldn't get over it. I took everything, all my willpower not to dive into it last night.
Can we show off a box?
I have some of it. I'll have it on our next set.
Oh, awesome. Looking forward to that. Well, in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and go to break and then join us again on KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll have Chef Anthony back in the studio to make our pineapple brats. Yeah. We'll be right back. This morning, uncertainty about abortion rights after the Supreme Court ruling overturned Roe v. Wade has prompted more men to ask about vasectomies. KOAM's Jalen Banks has why some Missouri men may face unexpected obstacles when trying to get one.
In wake of the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, there's been a spike in men getting vasectomies. The state of Missouri has conscience laws, which give healthcare providers the right to choose whether or not they provide certain services due to religious freedoms. That is what one Missouri man ran into.
He asked if I had any children. I told him no, that I also didn't want any children. He then said that he wouldn't perform the vasectomy on principle because he's a devout Catholic and that it's his personal belief that everyone needs to provide at least 2 children to the church, and so he wouldn't perform the vasectomy on anyone that didn't already have 2 children.
Chris says the reason why he wanted the vasectomy done is because his partner has complications giving birth.
She has health issues that would make it hard for her to become pregnant, but if she did become pregnant, would most likely, end in miscarriage or complications. And so with all the new laws going into effect, we discussed it, and it was just going to be simpler for me to get the vasectomy and just avoid all that altogether.
The doctor Hogan visited is listed with Mercy Health System, and Mercy provided this statement. As a Catholic healthcare system, Mercy abides by the ethical and religious directives for the Catholic healthcare services. With the Supreme Court ruling on Roe v. Wade, we will continue to provide excellent healthcare consistent with those directives. In Joplin, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Well, men in other areas have also had similar situation. A clinic in Florida has seen vasectomy appointments double for 30 or younger males with no children since the court ruling. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, Joplin firefighters battle a blaze at a manufacturing plant.
Doesn't the sun just already look really hot? It's not hot yet, but temperatures will rise. The latest from the Skywatch Storm Center.
And some area athletes hit the bowling alley for a good cause.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It is going to be a toasty one today. And that's going to be the trend. I can say that every morning. I could actually just pre-record that portion saying it's going to be hot.
It's going to be a toasty one.
Yeah. It's going to be a toasty one. It's going to be a toasty one. It's going to be a toasty one because that's going to be the trend the next several days. Right now at 7th at Rangeline, the sun is coming up and it's looking quite nice. We start this day. Temperatures are quite nice as we start the day too. 66 in Joplin. Most of us in the mid to upper 60s, even pushing some 70-degree readings out there now. As the day progresses, though, the sun rises higher in the sky and the temperatures do as well. Check that out, 98 by 5 o'clock. All of us pushing into the upper 90s to near 100 today with a light southeast breeze. Because it's going to get so hot, it's not going to cool down a lot either. We're going to be dipping into the mid to upper 70s for overnight lows. And a quick check of the 7-day shows that you're running out of time to give your AC an overnight break, because check out Tuesday night, 80-degree low as we start pushing highs back to 100. But we are watching some increasing storm chances as we head into the weekend. It's not going to do a lot for temperatures, but we do need some rain, and hopefully this brings us just enough to get by.
Yeah, Sunday, if we get that rain, it looks like it's going to be a little bit cooler. So
Yeah, I like how you say that. Yeah, I mean, 93.
Trying to look at the silver lining. Yes.
93 certainly beats 100 degrees. Which is helpful, but 93 is still going to be toasty. And that's what I was saying, these rain chances don't really do a lot for the temperatures, unfortunately. But we need the rain, and if we can get just a little bit, it's better than nothing.
Unfortunately, whenever you get the rain, it usually gets a little more muggy, too.
That's the problem. As we get further into the year, we get into that time of the pop-up storms in the middle of the afternoon. And so you'll get that thunderstorm. It rains on you for 20 minutes, makes it feel nice. As soon as it clears out, all that humidity it leaves behind makes it worse than what it was before the storm got there.
Sure does. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, firefighters were called to a Joplin manufacturing plant Wednesday afternoon. They found flames at the Owens Corning complex on State Line Road. We do not have any reports of injuries. The fire was reported around 1:45 Wednesday afternoon. Some firefighters cut a hole in the roof, apparently to get access to the fire. Others worked inside the building. The plant makes insulation. Joplin police say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's deputy's patrol vehicle has died. The accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. A Joplin woman accused of killing a Joplin couple in a crash learns her sentence for an earlier crime. Rita Glasgow was originally charged with drug possession in 2017, and then in February of 2020, she was charged with drug trafficking. And then authorities say in January of last year, Glasgow was intoxicated when she drove a stolen pickup into an SUV. Terry and Rhonda Koppel of Joplin both died from injuries in that crash. In February of this year, Glasgow began serving a 7-year prison sentence for the 2017 case after she failed to complete a court-ordered program. Now a judge has sentenced her to serve 4 years to be served concurrently for the 2020 case. She's already pled guilty in the fatal crash, and she's set to be sentenced in that case July 25th. A former Ottawa County, Oklahoma prosecutor pleads guilty to offering favorable treatment in court proceedings in exchange for sexual favors. Authorities say 44-year-old Daniel Giraldi of Joplin also provided drugs to the defendant he made the agreement with. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of oxycodone with intent to distribute and 4 counts of honest services fraud. As part of the plea agreement, Giraldi will forfeit his Oklahoma bar license. He will be sentenced at a later date. Kansas Special Olympics host a regional bowling competition at Pittsburgh's Holiday Lanes. KOAM's Shagun Bamidal was there and has more.
The Kansas Special Olympics kicked off its Southeast Kansas regional bowling competition at Pittsburgh Holiday Lanes. Erin Fletcher, the Director of Grants and Development for Special Kansas, says events like this are important for athletes around the community who are eager to compete.
It's really important for these events to be in our area, so our athletes from around the area can come to someplace actually pretty local and compete against each other, but then also not just compete, but get to see some of their friends, get to be part of the community as far as having the community come out and celebrate them. So it's really nice for the community to come out and celebrate their achievements.
Dozens of athletes came out to throw some strikes. Jay Orn has competed in the Paralympics, and he says bowling offers him a chance to grow.
I enjoy bowling because it's a good learning competition to bowl against other people.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Shagun Bamidal, KOAM News.
Bowling competition will continue at Holiday Lanes today. Well, today back in 1938, Howard Hughes and crew set a new world record for the Around the World flight. Let's set the scene. July 10th, 1938. Howard Hughes is nearing the end of his flight around the world. He wasn't the first to make such a flight, but he was well on track to being the fastest. He was wanted more than mere speed, and the entrepreneurial pilot had another vision in mind. He planned to fly the world in a sophisticated machine supported by an expert air and ground crew. Well, Hughes did it, and he landed in New York at 2:37 p.m. July 14th. He completed the trip in 3 days, 19 hours, 14 minutes, and 10 seconds, which was a phenomenal accomplishment.
3 days around the world.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's a lot faster than, what is that, 88 days or?
80 days.
80 days.
80 days, I think. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. 80 days, around the world in 80 days. Yeah.
Around the world in 80 days.
So 3 days is pretty impressive. Now, granted, if you go far enough north or far enough south, you probably, circle the world in a day, maybe less. So just depends on where you are, because if you're at the equator, I imagine that might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So
I guess, well, what if you're at the North Pole?
That's what I'm saying. You go up there, you can just...
A couple seconds,
you can run in a circle. There's no real land to stand on at the North Pole, but if you go to Antarctica...
There you go.
Find the South Pole and just run a lap around it, and
Wait,
you can...
I thought good old St. Nick lived at the North Pole.
Well, he's just slightly off-center from the North Pole, see? Just slightly.
But he's at the North Pole.
He is at the North Pole. He's just... Here's
might
the
have
North
kids
Pole,
watching, so...
and here's him.
Don't want to confuse them.
Well, geography's confusing. Maybe he lives in Iceland.
But I know he's really busy making sure that all the good boys and girls get toys for Christmas this year.
Because this is the 7th month of the year, and he starts as soon as Christmas is over working on all of this. And he's been working nonstop. We've only got a little bit of time before Christmas gets here.
Because sometimes kids decide to get a little ornery come summer break.
They do.
But Santa's watching.
Yeah,
he's watching.
2 of my boys are here at the station this morning, and they're watching. So if they're listening, please pay attention, because Santa's watching. Even if I'm not back there to watch after you, Santa's watching, and he knows what you've been doing. It's going to be another hot one today, too. We'll talk more about the forecast a little bit later, but it is a cool start to the day, so that's not too bad.
All right, that's a look. I wanted to get that in there.
He's watching.
Yes, he knows
and
it.
So am I.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Panasonic chooses the state of Kansas for its new factory. All right.
Plus, when it comes to pets, we love them. They're like family of our own. Today, we want to know, how often do you take your pet to the vet? We're going to let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
Consumer Watch this morning, inflation soared at its fastest pace in over 4 decades. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says last month's consumer price index was 9.1% compared to a year ago. It was also 1.3% higher than in May. Nearly half of the increase was attributed to higher fuel and energy cost. Panasonic has chosen Kansas as the location of a new factory that'll produce batteries for Tesla and other rechargeable vehicle makers. The $4 billion facility will be located in the city of DeSoto. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says it's the single largest business investment in state history. Well, Netflix is teaming up with Microsoft to create a new ad-supported plan. The video streaming service had previously announced its intention to offer consumers a lower-cost option that would include commercials. Yesterday, it said Microsoft would be its advertising, technology, and sales partner in the new endeavor. In March, Netflix said its subscriber base had declined for the first time since 2011. The reason why I like Netflix is because it doesn't have commercials. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for something to talk about.
I'm right there with you on that. I like that Netflix doesn't have commercials. Hopefully my particular plan keeps the commercials out of it.
They do keep rising the prices, though.
That is true. That's true. All right, this morning, we're discussing blood donations for pets. So donating blood can be critical for saving lives, but we typically think of blood donations as a human consideration. But this group of veterinarians wants to expand people's consideration of what it means to donate blood by including pets, and of course they're often overlooked. Now, pets can suffer similar ailments and injuries as humans, and they do require, or they have the same need for blood. And the process for donating blood can actually be similar. If a person has a healthy animal, vets encourage regular donations. In the case of a dog, for example, one donation can save up to 3 lives depending on the size of that dog. But our question today is a little more in general terms. How often, on average, do you take your pet to the vet? Your options are never, monthly, yearly, or perhaps you've got another schedule. So right now, never is at 8%. 18% of you take them monthly, 61% of you take them yearly, and 13% of you have another type of schedule. Real quick, you can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. You can do so in the KOAM News Now app. You can take part in the discussion on our Facebook page, facebook.com/KOAM Fox 14. Now, let's check in with Tony to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll take you to Birmingham, Alabama, where thousands of athletes from all around the globe have gathered for the World Games. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Private First Class Harold Bateman. The Iola, Kansas native served from July to December of 1945 and earned the Philippine Liberation Medal with 1 Bronze Service Star and the Asiatic Pacific Service Medal for his efforts. To Private First Class Harold Bateman, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
It is now time to celebrate some birthdays, and check out this one. We're not celebrating the bunny's birthday, but Elliot Studebaker of Fredonia turning 6. And it looks like he's got himself his best friend to spend the day with. So a very happy birthday to you, Elliot.
Oh, who knows? Maybe Elliot and his bunny share a birthday, and
That's
they
a
can both
possibility.
celebrate.
That's a distinct possibility.
There you go. Kyler Saporito turning 14 years old this year. Hope it's a great one for you because it's your golden birthday, Kyler, in Columbus.
Heading over to Joplin, we've got Mary Jane Burkett turning 20 years old today. A very happy birthday to you.
All right, and Elizabeth Walker celebrating birthday number 34 years old, and she is in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday, Elizabeth.
We've got Marianne French turning 78 years young. See, I think that's Marianne there on the right side of your screen. Turning 78 years old in Redfield, Kansas. I'm saying she looks very young.
Oh.
Tanya's making faces at me now. I'm saying Marianne looks very young, and she is turning 78 in Redfield, Kansas. Very happy birthday.
I just assumed you didn't know your left from your right.
I sometimes don't, but that wasn't the case right now.
All right, we got a 22nd anniversary to celebrate in Girard. A celebration going out to the Sisneys, Michael and Missy Sisney. 22 years of wedded bliss. Little throwback wedding picture there. Love it.
We've also got Mark Howerton celebrating a birthday up in Carthage. Tommy Bennett turning 82 years young in Joplin. Ruth Hale celebrating a birthday in Columbus. And then Jeff and Kim Crane celebrating 38 magical years of marriage in Columbus. Happy birthdays and anniversary to you all.
All right, and if you have a birthday, you can submit them through email. Just send them to birthdays@KOAMTV.com, or you can go online and submit them at birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com.
Additionally, you can go there and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club at our website. Great part about this is you get special deals from local businesses, and you know you want them. So make sure you sign up when you're submitting your birthday or anniversary while you're at KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to get that birthday club. Now, if you switch with us over onto Fox 14 on our KOAM Morning News there, we're going to meet a man who had an iguana in his house. Not just anywhere in his house, however. Take a look there. It was in his toilet. More on that story if you stick with us on Fox 14. And a quick check of the forecast. Let me just skip right through this. We're starting off in the 60s, and we are going to be pushing into the upper 90s for afternoon highs today. And now you see, this is what happens when I can't read a clock. I've got a little more time, so I skipped a bit. So I'm going to back up just real quick and talk quickly about the drought. It's not severe yet. It's not major yet, but we are seeing dry conditions in the area. We do need some rainfall, and hopefully we will get some because check out these future heat index values, upper 90s, lower 100s. So they're not going to be soaring much higher than our actual highs, but they are going to be there, and they're going to be unpleasant. So back to that 7-day, 97 Friday, 99 on Saturday. As we head into the weekend, though, we do have increasing rain chances and maybe even some thunderstorm chances. We do certainly need that rain, but of course, as you can see, it really doesn't do anything at all for our temperatures. And as soon as it clears out Sunday, we return to sunny skies, temperatures pushing 100 by next week before we run into another round of thunderstorms. Overnight lows, you've got tonight, tomorrow night, and through the weekend to give your AC a break before overnight lows start feeling like afternoon highs, pushing 77 and 80 by Tuesday night. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Joplin police say the cyclist hit by a Newton County Sheriff's deputy's patrol vehicle has died. Accident happened around 2 a.m. last Thursday near East 32nd and South Finley Streets in Joplin. Authorities say the deputy's SUV collided with a motorized bicycle, sending its rider, 44-year-old Ryan Hunnell of Joplin, to the hospital. Police announced Hunnell died of his injuries on Sunday. JPD's major crash team is investigating. Firefighters were called to a Joplin manufacturing plant Wednesday afternoon. They found flames at the Owens Corning complex on State Line Road. We do not have any reports of injuries. The fire was reported around 1:45 Wednesday afternoon. Some firefighters cut a hole in the roof, apparently to get access to the fire. Others worked inside the building. The plant makes insulation. The planned closure of the railroad overpass on Rangeline Road in Joplin has been delayed due to construction scheduling issues. It had been scheduled to close this coming Monday to allow contractor crews to demolish the bridge and begin work on a new one. Authorities have not yet announced a new closure date. Mercy and Grail LLC, a healthcare company whose mission is to detect cancer early when it can be cured, announced plans to offer a multi-cancer early detection blood test. Grail's Gawler test uses advanced testing capabilities to detect early cancer signals of more than 50 types of cancer. Mercy says this is a first-of-its-kind test. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Here's a check of that forecast before you head out the door. It's a nice start to the day. Sun comes out and it's going to get toasty. Highs pushing into the upper 90s with heat index values approaching 100. And then as we cool off tonight, if you can call it that, we're going to be in the mid to upper 70s by the time we start the day tomorrow. Quick check of that 7-day forecast does show some increasing thunderstorm chances Friday through Sunday. Doesn't really do a lot for temperatures except maybe Sunday, 93. A little bit better, and then we're going to hit right back up to the hundreds by the time we start the next work week.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making a summer party salad in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings next. Californians are being ordered to conserve water during extreme drought conditions. Next on CBS Mornings, which Hollywood A-listers are guilty of using up to 3 times their budgeted amount of water.
All right, or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Chef Anthony returns to Studio K with a sausage and veggies recipe. You're not going to want to miss this one.
And we're going to meet a man who finds more than $2,000 in his 1934 home.
What?
I wish I could have found that at my parents' house, but I never did. That's going to wrap it up for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.